Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are enjoying the sessions that you have previously attended, and I hope you're looking for what we have today for our exciting alum panel and for the future upcoming events that we have after this, such as networking. So, first, I would like to give each panelist a chance to introduce themselves and get to know them a little bit more and their background. So, first, I would like to start off with James Handley Jr. If you could please start with your introduction.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is James Hanley Jr., not Hanley Jr., Hanley Jr., as I realize it's on the screen now. Apologies about that. I graduated from Morehouse in the Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. I then went on to work in the industry for a year before going off to go get my MBA at Georgia State University. I concentrated in business analysis and data science when I got that MBA. And I've since 2016 been working for LexisNexis Risk Solutions, particularly in their insurance division. Started off as a data scientist, and I'm now a director of data science after 6 years working there. So glad to be here.
Thank you, James, for that. Director, did you all hear the roll? Just making sure. Okay, have to brush them off a little bit. All right, next we'll move on to Dr. Kenesha Ford.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kenesha Ford. I am a 2002 graduate of Spelman College Physics Department and a 2022 graduate from Howard's Department of Physics and Astronomy. Um, I did not go directly into data science, but I really kind of found my way into data science through my dissertation research, which I'm sure we'll touch on later. But I currently work as a physicist for the Navy. I work for NavAir, their aircraft division, in their human systems engineering department.
Thank you for that, Dr. Ford. And I actually did my undergraduate major in physics, so love to see that. Next, we will have Dr. Tiara Griffin.
Hi everyone, my name is Tiara Griffin. I am a recent graduate of Morehouse School of Medicine where I got my PhD in biomedical sciences. My focus was cancer biology and bioinformatics, and I'm currently in a specialized postdoc program at Genentech called the Drug Development Training Program, where I support several drug development projects within the oncology space. It's nice to meet all of you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Griffin. And last but not least, well, we actually have one more panelist coming up, but we're just waiting for him to log on. But we will next introduce Willie Michelle.
Oh, hello everyone. My name is Wumi. I am a recent graduate of the illustrious Clark Atlanta University, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics with a minor in Computer Science. I'm currently an master's student at Columbia University through their Data Science Institute. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you folks today.
Great, great. Yeah. And we also have another panelist. I'm sure he will be joining us soon. Zarati Woods. I think he might actually be in the audience, but we will circle back around to his introduction when he pops up on stage. So are you all ready for questions? Yeah, get a little cheer, a little snap. Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. So first, I would like to start off, and any one of you can just jump in when you feel like you have the correct response or the response that you're ready for to regarding your profession. So how did you break into the data science profession?
Sure, I'll take that one on to get us kind of started here. And coming out of Morehouse, I just knew I was going to be a math professor. I had gotten into Emory's PhD program for math, and I got scared. I honestly got scared, and so I decided, because you can take a gap year, that I'd take a gap year and get into the industry to really understand what my math degree could do in the business world and in the real world. And that's when I really realized that math in the business world and math in the real world is oftentimes achieved through data. And so that really got me interested in data and big data analysis in general. And so then I decided to pursue that. I realized that I had the math skill and the statistics, but I needed the computer science skill and, of course, a little bit of the business knowledge. So once I decided to ditch my PhD, mathematics dreams, and then went ahead and got my MBA with a concentration in data science, knowing good and well that in the business world, data is really where math kind of reaches its culmination point. And so once I found out about that, it was through coursework that I really found out about the data science field, the capabilities of data science outside of just the role that I was in. And the rest is kind of history for me.
All right. Anyone else? I see we actually have Mr. Zarate Woods joining us. So if you would like to give your quick introduction, and if you would like to provide an answer to the question of how did you break into the data science profession? We'll start there.
Sure. So this will probably be awkward going behind that, but I'm Zarate Woods. I am a graduate 2014 of Morehouse College. I actually have a PhD in mathematics. And how did I break into? I'm from Atlanta, so born and raised. I grew up right around Morehouse College, so it's near and dear to my heart. How did I break into the data science realm? I don't even know if I'm a data science. I still kind of quote myself as a mathematician, but so my specialty is in machine learning. I kind of got into it with I'm in graduate school. There was a problem that my advisor had that was funded through a large DARPA grant that dealt with a lot of big data, and so that's kind of how I got into it.
Okay. Dr. Ford, Dr. Griffin, Wumi, would you like to take this question as well?
Oh, I can go next.
Okay, I'll go.
My path into data science wasn't as direct. Originally, I started off as a dual degree engineering student, majoring in both mathematics and biomedical engineering. But I realized, when something feels like it's for you, it's not really for you. And I remember taking an introductory programming course with Dr. Lamar in the computer science department, where we were learning Python programming, and I was like, oh, this feels just like math. It's like patterns, like all that recognition. So I ended up taking up a minor in CS, and that following summer 2020, COVID hit. I wasn't able to do my software engineering internship. So Clark Atlanta University and the decided to provide a data science research opportunity for the summer. I was like, well, I don't really know what data science is. Did the 8-week long summer research program, and now here we are. And since then, I've conducted data science research with social justice initiatives. I've gotten the opportunity to conduct research under Dr. Washington as well as Dr. Lewis, who is the former mathematics chair.
So I have a very indirect kind of path into, I would say, data science. I went back to get my PhD, and I thought I was going to do it in a experimental format. And I ended up I wanted to do breast cancer research. I was really interested in the breast cancer disparities with Black women. So I had to go ahead and do theoretical physics, really, because there was not a lot of ways for me to partner with anybody to do the experimental. When you get into theoretical physics, you have lots of numbers. And so I was looking at genomics. And when you get into all genome information and having to calculate that, they're just huge data sets. So I'm looking at SNPs on a chromosome. Never mind what SNPs are, but when I'm looking at these things on chromosome, I'm looking at 250,000 data point ranges for multiple populations. And so there was no way to really do that without data science. And I really got kind of introduced and more comfortable with it by taking a class from Dr. Washington. She was still at Howard, because I was afraid of it at first and a little apprehensive. And she's like, oh, no, you can do it. She makes everything look easy. It was not, but I was able to really get into doing it that way. And now, even on my job, even though I'm not doing cancer research at the moment like I would like to, I am realizing that there's still so many more places with the big data that they have at the Navy for data science as well.
Okay. Dr. Griffin.
So the question was, how did I get into data science?
Mm-hmm.
So, my bachelor's degree is in biology, and before going to grad school, I was pretty much a bench scientist. Right, so my interests, I like cancer biology, and I like neuroscience, and I like microbiology, complete biologists here. So when I went to grad school, though, we had like a critical thinking class where we discussed papers, and there was one paper that changed, like sparked my interest the most. It was it was a publication, a cancer research paper, where these scientists from one of the UC schools in California, they discovered these extra chromosomal DNAs in glioblastoma that could easily integrate themselves back and forth between the chromosome, in and out of a chromosome, to amplify certain cancer promoting genes. And I thought that was really awesome. These scientists not only discovered that, but they created this awesome computational approach and machine learning algorithm to identify these extra chromosomal DNAs in other data sets, like the other cancer data sets from the Cancer Genome Atlas. And ever since I read that, I thought that was so cool. It was my first time seeing how, like, kind of data science can be used for cancer research, and I endeavored to actually understand what they did in that paper and how they did it, and maybe even apply the algorithm they created to my own research. And so after that, I designed my individual development plan for grad school to become a bioinformatician, which is a scientist that analyzes genetic information for discovery purpose, target discovery, especially in case of genetic mutations associated with responses to therapy. So that's what sparked my passion.
Okay.
And
So I'm,
eventually, sorry,
oh,
eventually
go ahead.
after that, after like 5 years, basically 5 years, I completed a computational bioinformatics and cancer biology focused dissertation. I ended up getting into this really cool postdoctoral program where I'm at Genentech, where I get to actually see the translation of these computation discoveries in clinical trials. So that's also really, really awesome.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all panelists for sharing on how they had their introduction and start into the data science profession. So I've heard many things from the panelists, such as programs that you have had or internships, research internships. So what classes do you think students should take to prepare for future data science opportunities such as yourselves? And anyone can take the question.
Oh, I can definitely start.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Um, I know not all the girls like to program, but you got to get hip. You got to get into it. So, definitely an introduction to Python or R programming. I definitely recommend taking data structures and algorithms because that's a huge part of my master's program. And let me tell you, algorithms and data structures at the graduate level, it's a beast. Everything that lies at the intersections of math and comp sci, so discrete mathematics, discrete structures, math logic, and maybe problem stats. Some can get away with it, some can't. Those are the courses that I would recommend. Oh, and visualization.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm actually extremely least biased, and I'm going to say that there isn't enough math to take. So linear algebra is definitely a math that you should absolutely take. But even those super abstract guys that folks don't tend to like, so real analysis, abstract algebra, those things, I had all of those, and I don't ever regret taking them. So to be honest with you, I didn't learn how to code until I was in graduate school, actually. That could be contrary to what a bunch of folks may think, but I didn't learn how to code until grad school. But actually, so what you realize is that so once you get a good deep understanding of math, coding is just syntax, right? It's just how do you get it on the screen, right? So the more math, the better, if you ask me.
And along those same lines, statistics, I think you're going to hear throughout your data science career things about distributions, normal distributions, Gaussian distributions, things like that. So your basic statistics courses and even some of your more advanced statistics courses are going to go a long way just towards understanding a lot of the outputs that you get when you create a data model or you do any data science, but also just kind of understanding how to set up those problems in the right way.
I have to agree with what everyone said here, 'cause especially the statistics, because as a physicist, we didn't take a statistics course. We do like statistical physics, and I didn't really start to not hate programming until graduate school. Just to be honest, I did not love it. I did everything to avoid it, and then ended up needing it to do my dissertation. So, like Wumi said, don't run from it. Just do it at whatever point it's there and actually learn it, because you will eventually anyway. But I definitely second statistics because I had to do a lot of digging in statistics beyond what the physics versions of statistics we got was. So if I had had a statistics course, it probably would have made understanding some things a lot easier.
I felt that one. Dr. Griffin, did you have anything you'd like to comment on this question?
Yeah, so if any of you like genetics, I recommend taking a bioinformatics class because you get to learn about all the computational methods to look and exploring DNA, RNA, proteins, methylation. It's pretty cool. So if that's your thing, you like genetics or biology in general, try bioinformatics. You get to learn R and Linux programming in those classes. So I would recommend, well, if you want more of an extensive R or Linux program, you can take a separate course to give you more education in that area too. I also recommend mathematical modeling. I recommend mathematical modeling classes for like everything. There's not, I can't think of a field that doesn't actually apply mathematical modeling in some capacity. That's the only thing that I wish that I had more exposure with my early on in grad school, really early on, even in undergrad, because it's like really, that's the future. It's like everywhere. That's my only comment for that.
No, that is very true. And I saw we had a question from Daniel Hummer. If you were tasked with designing an internship program specifically for aspiring data scientists, what characteristics would it need to include to be an attractive and valuable experience for students? I know you guys mentioned courses that you wish you could have took, or more experience you wish you could have had. So if you could name one thing to integrate into this internship specifically for aspiring data scientists, what would it be out of all that you said? Only one thing.
For me, that's easy. I say to incorporate examples, clear examples, like varied people here on this panel, just where you can apply it. Because one thing I know I experienced sometimes in undergrad was like, oh, this is interesting. Well, what can I do with this? And sometimes then the professors are like, I don't know, go figure it out. But you don't know necessarily how to do that. So it's nice to always have an example of someone working in cancer research, someone working in a math department, someone working at LexisNexis, someone working for the government or whatever, whichever ways they might be able to see where it is as a starting point of how then they maybe can evolve it for themselves.
Yeah. So to add on to that, if you're in an internship, make sure that you are holding your mentor accountable for um, like allowing you to own something, right? So, and in particular, right, like make sure that you're leaving that with something that you can get on, that you can put on GitHub. Make sure that you're leaving that with something that you can put on a resume that says I understand and I know this. When I do machine learning most of the time. And so, so when I have interns, I make sure that, I even frustrate them a little bit in that I give them an assignment and I walk away from it, right? And I say, well, I want you to flail a little bit and try to figure this out on your own first, because it gives them an opportunity to where when someone else asks them, they can say, hey, I know how to, build a neural network from scratch, right? I know how to pre-process an image, right? It's important when you're going out for a job to say, hey, I wasn't just there, I wasn't just pushing papers around, I was doing something and I learned something from the experience.
And to kind of piggyback off of that point, it's also good to understand the context in which your part comes in, especially for more complex problems. Being able to describe what the problem was, what the intended steps were for the solution, and then describe where your part of the solutioning came in and what you did in order to kind of contribute to the overall piece and what were the next steps. It becomes really, really important when you try to explain the value of your internship to somebody like me when you're ready to get in industry or when you're ready to move on to that next internship. So really try to understand the overall process for kind of solving whatever the problem your internship is about or whatever your internship project is about, and then understand where your piece or part of that project really contributes to that overall process.
Did anyone have any more responses for that question? No? Okay, so I know you mentioned GitHub as a resource. Do you have any other resources or suggestions for those who want to upskill in data science that you would recommend for them to do?
Yeah, so I know in particular things like knowing how to use GitHub and GitLab and stuff like that for version control is actually extremely attractive and useful. In particular, so I work for a large team. If you do data science or machine learning or whatever, right, you're not doing it in isolation, right? And so version control and being able to do collaborative things is going to be extremely important. And we kind of overlook that kind of stuff like GitLab, GitHub, using Slack in the correct way, that kind of thing. Those things that we don't advertise a lot, that are in the, like learning how to use a bash script, right? Those kinds of things with like Linux and stuff that we don't advertise a lot is always going to be super useful. That kind of thing.
Could you repeat the question?
Of course, my love.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, you guys. Me and Rumi used to be research partners when we were back in Atlanta undergrad.
Like
so, yeah, I'm at Brown right now. She's at Columbia, so just a few months.
She gonna see me next month, though.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, besides that, I apologize. So what do you suggest for those who want upskill in data science, such as resources or any recommendations that you have?
Oh, Coursera and the Harvard EDX courses, they're so good for learning data science. Oh, and Udemy too. Udemy's that girl. They have a lot of free courses.
I'd also say get your hands on actual real data, which is easier said than done, but there are ways to do it. The U.S. Census has data, for example, and start a small project with real data and see how not clean it is, see how your models aren't going to come up with perfect or squares, things like that, and really just try to get a sense for what data is like in the real world. And internships and things of that nature will certainly help you. But try to get your hands on some real data and get a sense for what true results look like, because you'll realize and you'll find that they're not really as clean as the results you get out of an academic data set.
Oh, to piggyback off of the data sets, Kaggle has like a list, like a wide variety, a wide range of data sets that you can pull from.
NIH also has a data set now too with information. I believe a lot of it's cancer information, but either way, there is a free data set that they provide, and you being a student, especially, there's a way for you to get in there and have access to the information. And there's a lot of genomic information out there from like 1,000 genome sets and stuff like that that are free. But one other thing that I do say to do, piggybacking off of what James said, is to also pay attention to what the people in your field are doing. So whatever your interest is, try to stay connected to what people are doing. What are they using, or what are they writing about? And just kind of be aware so that you can make sure that you at least know that as you're adding on to your skill set to whatever additional thing you might want to do.
Yeah, and so to piggyback also on Kaggle, like Kaggle has like competitions to where you can like win like money and stuff, right? So it's as they said, it's like regular data is dirty. If you ever want to break all of your theories that you learn in a book, you put some real data on it. It breaks everything. I promise you. So it's a good practice to kind of do it. The other thing too is that like you'd be surprised if you were to ask your professors for things, right? So like to be like the best thing about data science is that it doesn't cost a person that has access to a data anything to give it to you, right? And so all it causes, you may have to sign a few NDAs or something like that. But other than that, like if you just want to go and play with some professor's data that's doing some, I'm sure if you have access to Dr. Washington and she has some data that's laying around, I'm sure she would be more than happy to let you play with it. So
Dr. Griffin, would you like to comment on that question?
So this is about the resources, right?
Yeah, resources and suggestions for people who would like to upskill in data science.
Well, I can once again only comment from like the bioinformatics side. So Bioconductor is one of the biggest websites for R-based statistical analyses packages, and also like manuals for how to actually teach you how to use the different R software for just about any type of analysis. So you can just go into the Bioconductor website and search for particular analysis that you want to run, and it'll actually like list several types of packages, and you can just pick the pages and the tutorial manuals to use those.
Thank you. All right, so now that we've mentioned resources, suggestions to the audience on how to improve their skills in data science, I would like to hear from each panelist about the best data science project you liked.
That's a good question.
I guess I'll go first. Well, I've really only, since I've only been in grad school recently, just graduated, and I just only started my career, my professional career, I'll just say that my favorite data science part is really my dissertation. For my PhD dissertation was on studying transcriptomics, so RNA and protein based signatures in chronic lymphocytic leukemia to identify mechanisms of therapeutic resistance for the current standard of care. So I really enjoyed that project because I was mostly first I was mostly self-taught. For I used Bioconductor and several other resources. I learned how to find resources to actually come up with statistical pipeline for getting completing each aim step of my dissertation project. And it was just exciting knowing that I was making a difference for cancer patients, which it was incredible. Like 5, 10 years down the road, your discovery can actually help save lives, and that was so that's why it's my favorite. I'm currently even at I'm still doing really cool computational discovery oncology discovery projects to help improve cancer patient care, healthcare. So I will keep staying in this field basically. Well, I hope to stay in cancer forever based on what I've done in my dissertation. So that's all that I have.
Sure. And as we talk about kind of favorite projects and the benefits of them, I think one project that my team is currently working on is really taking images, right, and using computer vision models and machine learning models to remove certain attributes from those images. And these images happen to be pictures of people's roofs, right? So do you have issues with your roof, a hole in your roof, or whatever? But taking these kind of abstract data sets, right, and this abstract kind of data asset and blending it with traditional data assets like public records, like credit, in order to kind of create a score, if you will, for property insurance and for the particularly for the condition of your home and that element of your property insurance. And I think that's something that's really exciting about data science in general today, which was a little different than 7 or 8 years ago when I first started in data science, particularly with web analytics. The data assets are changing. It's no longer just transactional data. It's no longer just data that's entered in on a form, but with machine learning, with computer vision, with other kind of algorithmic techniques for pulling data. You can imagine, right? Everything you say to Siri or to Amazon or to Google is another piece of data that can be parsed and turned into a data asset or into a data set. And so really the adventure of exploring these new data sets, these new data assets, and finding the value in them above and beyond kind of the traditional data that we probably work with day in and day out is really interesting. And it's also really interesting to see how data has really infiltrated some of the more traditional sciences and how data science has infiltrated some of the more traditional sciences.
So I'll go next. So I thought that my favorite machine learning problem was going to be my dissertation forever. So I'll explain it first, and then I'll explain how come what I'm doing now is actually kind of cooler. So I created a neural network to be able to predict malaria in its very early stages before clinicians could predict it by only using non-human primates um, ECG. It was actually super cool, and actually my advisor and the team that I was on didn't believe that I could do it. So it actually, that was a huge result, and I was super proud of it. I actually uh, got to that result at like 2 in the morning after I had woke up from a dream or something like that. It was weird. So I got up, came out to be like 99% accurate. It was insane, right? But the problem with that kind of thing, right, is that the neural network that I used was actually pretty complicated. And when you're in so when you're doing things like diagnoses and stuff like that, the problem with convolutional neural networks is that you can't explain how they got to other answer, right? So, you know, you it's one thing to say, hey, you got cancer, but if I tell you that you got cancer, you probably want to know how come I think that, right? And the weakness with particularly convolutional neural networks is that you have a hard time doing that, right? And so I don't do biology work now. I kind of do work with with national security now. And so you can actually obviously imagine that you probably sleep well at night because there won't be a big smoking hole in the ground because a computer said put a big smoking hole in the ground, right? So any algorithm that we create, right, you have to know how come it's doing what it's doing, right? And so the stuff that I'm doing now is kind of trying to harness the power of neural networks because they're excellent at coming up with the right answer, right? But they're not good at explaining that answer. And so the work that I'm doing now is trying to crack that nut of how to explain the stuff that's going on to a human, right? So I mean, so we can explain it in math, in math equations, but to a human, right? Why did this thing come up with that answer? And that's actually the kind of that's actually it's actually a cool project that I stay up at night and think about all the time now. So
Dr. Ford, would you like to go next?
Sure. For me, kind of a newbie still in this data analysis, I would say that data science, my fault. We all do data analysis, some form of fashion. I would say still my dissertation research has been the most interesting thing thus far because I haven't done a lot of it compared to what I do in my job, which I can. for me, just doing the cancer research and really using physics, because I had people in my department saying, oh, well, that's not really physics if you're looking at genomics, so really tying the physics into studying the genomics and evaluating if there are any environmental factors that may affect Black women's propensity towards triple negative breast cancer, um, and the whys and the hows that you really want to get into, which, of course, doing that research, you don't have the time to get into all of that. I mean, because you don't want to spend 20 years doing it to finish your program, but just seeing how much more of it that I can do. So it's still like, oh, well, I can do this. I can look at this next. I can look at that next. And so, really, how I was able to, use physics and data science and genomics kind of all in there in one to really see if we can get to why we have this particular type of cancer more often, or why even we may die from it more often. So, and just being a Black woman, knowing plenty of Black women who have had breast cancer and or died from it, it's really close to my heart in that sense. And for my job, the project that I lead now has so much potential, but it has so many layers of red tape and bureaucracy, and well, we don't buy this software, well, we don't do that, and and so it makes the process a little more cumbersome. I don't have the leeway to say, this is what we're going to do, you guys. Go out here and do it. Let's talk about it in 2 weeks, in our status meeting or whatever. So it makes it just a little bit more of a frustrating process. But I watched and it's especially frustrating because I watched um, my agency and my branch and my department or whatever look at huge data sets, because they go out there and they go up in a plane and they test for noise sensitivity or whatever that may be affecting the crew. And they end up with a million data sets because they're taking it every like zero point zero 0.02 seconds. And they end up with these huge Excel spreadsheets that they expect people to then comb through. And I'm like, why are we doing that? This doesn't make any sense. The only people who get to do things smart in conjunction with this data sometimes are the contractors. So I'm kind of like I'm on the wrong side of it to really, make it be done the way it should be done. But I'm pushing. But they do also have options for you to kind of write for grants and maybe push a project and present a project in a more innovative way. So I'm going to try to do that after really looking at it and seeing how much more could be done, how much faster it could be done. So maybe, if I talk to you guys again, that could be my favorite project. I don't know. We'll see. But so far, so it's been a dissertation research.
We're going to look forward to that. I'm actually doing current research in what you covered in your dissertation right now in graduate school for my master's. So
really, we should talk.
Yeah, we'll talk offline for sure.
Yeah.
Umi, I'm hoping I know what you're gonna say, but I'm gonna let you.
We see each
We're
other.
here. Okay, great.
It would most definitely be the erase child trafficking project that we did. So me and Victoria, we worked collaboratively with an org called Erase Child Trafficking. Basically, they're trying to eliminate trafficking in the United States and bring awareness. And for this task, they basically wanted us to increase their engagement on the Facebook platform. They gave us their data, included their post insights, their engagement levels, the type of posts, the captions, likes, comments, shares, all that other stuff. Basically, they weren't doing much for the organization. They weren't posted. A lot of boring content. And we found that like certain words like generated like greater likes, greater engagement. We also came up with like a schedule for them to incorporate. Oh, if you post on these times and days, and if you post this type of content, then you'll get this amount of people to engage and bring awareness about trafficking. So that was basically it. And we got to present it at the ADSA spring meeting this past March.
Great project that you mentioned. All right, let me get serious. So talking about what we liked best, what we enjoyed in data science. What tips do you have for future data science professionals in navigating throughout their careers and networking with other people in the profession?
Sure, I'll start off. I'll say the thing that I've learned about data. The thing I've learned about data scientists in my years working with them, not a lot of data scientists are very social people. You're with the business, really just understanding and getting to know the people behind the numbers. That's going to go a long ways. And understanding the problems and being able to solve them quite a bit better. But also being in terms of just getting yourself recognition throughout your career. Being a data scientist is more than being good at math. I guarantee you there will always be someone who's a better coder, who's better at math. Always somebody who's a little bit better. And so one way that I've been able to really set myself apart as a data scientist, and I've seen many other people set themselves apart as a data scientist, is really being a liaison between the business or the people making the decisions and the data scientists who are doing the very complex real work. Being able to, and Zarate really mentioned this, really being able to explain what it is that you're producing in a way that is impactful to the normal average person.
Great response. Completely agree with that. That's what we've been covering for the past 2 weeks right now. But yes.
My advice for networking is to leverage LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the biggest professional networks, and you can simply search whatever data science career or whatever career you specifically see yourself having in the future, and find people either locally or elsewhere that have your dream career and just inbox them. People, like, I would just recommend learn to be bold and use LinkedIn and actually reach out and ask career questions. People actually, something I didn't do this when I was in undergrad or even in grad school. I learned the importance of this like after I finished that, and I noticed that people are actually willing to talk to you on LinkedIn. Like it doesn't matter, and even also on Twitter as well. Like scientists, professionals, they're willing to talk to you or answer any questions about their career and to help guide you. You just have to reach out and ask those questions. And secondly, for anyone that's interested in biotech careers in general, I recommend the SMVP Biotech. It stands for Scientist Mentoring Diversity Program. Like so, if you're qualified to apply, if you're an undergrad, master's, bachelor, as long as you're a student of some kind, it will give you a chance to learn about career opportunities in biotech. You get to meet a lot of people, other students, a lot of professionals, where you can ask questions, and you get it's the best way to expand, a really good way to expand your network.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Griffin will also talk offline. I like the opportunity that you just presented. Thank you. Who would like to go next in answering that question?
So Victoria, this is so everyone in this session is from the AUC, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're the AUC alone, you know.
All right.
Right.
I'm about to pull this mask off for a second, and I want you guys to understand something. So you got to use your sauce, right? Like it. Okay, right. We're all smart, but there's a lot of folks that are smart, right? And so, I the biggest thing that I learned from the AUC is how to grind, and the biggest thing that I learned from the AUC is that it's okay to not know, right? And so, um, you know, I was able to sit with things that I didn't know for a long time. Like I think Einstein said, right? It isn't that I'm smarter than anyone. I just sit with problems for longer, right? And so, the AU kind of taught me that like you won't get everything the first time, and you won't always be the smartest person in the room. But like, I tell my boss this all the time. He gets a crack out. It's like, yeah, but like they don't got my sauce, right? So I mean, like, I can. I mean, I got that Morehouse stuff through and through me. So it's. I don't even know how else to explain it than that, right? Like,
Yeah.
just
That was great. I think we all understood. Find a way or make one. We all know the Clark motto. Like you said, like you just sit with problems a little longer. Don't be afraid to reach out. Like use your resources. Like you're your own person. There's nobody else like you in this world. Use your sauce. I felt that. I like that answer too.
Mm. The question was in regards to like networking, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't engage in professionalism, like not entirely. So I'm not gonna tell people to get on LinkedIn, but Twitter, using them hashtags, they get you places. They really get you places. And I know you said like to stay within like the realm of data science, but like Tech Twitter literally like has so much. Like I've gotten like textbooks from people that like I interact with on the timeline. I've gotten like career advice. I've literally had like people help me like write personal statements for like grad school for my like programs. So don't sleep on social media. Don't sleep on Twitter. The best app. The best app there is.
I
Come
agree.
on.
I was gonna say, now I'm not a big Twitter person or anything, but you are correct. I think just really our our networking is, it comes from so many different ways. And so we have stuff, we have our alumni groups, we have our social connections, we have the AUC thing that always happens. If you see somebody, you're like, oh hey, CAU person, hey Morehouse person, we always do that. And of course the Spelman sisters, we're always going to do that. And so just having that connection and just starting to meet people in general, you never really know who you meet. And then I also think that just attending whatever kind of conference or informational session, what have you, is important, because when you go there, sometimes you just learn something new. You may not meet a person that you really make a connection with, but you will learn something new. You will learn about a company or an agency or a program that you then look further into. And then you might find somebody who went there or something like that. But that, just not being afraid to speak up. And so when I went to college, they talked about networking all the time. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm kind of shy. So I'm like, hi, how are you? You know, you don't really know what that means as you kind of mature and just get a little bit more comfortable. You start to just meet people. And as you start to meet people, you find out what kind of people you may need to interact with to learn more, or maybe to for them to say, hey, you might want to go over here and talk to this person at this institution, at this company, whatever, because we all know something about something. I may know, hey, my job is hiring truthfully, government internship applications are like available now, little plug, if you are looking for something. So there's just always those things, and talk to everyone that you can talk to, and not even always because you need something from them, but just begin to meet people, and you just never know what comes from that.
Thank you. Thank you. Every
Um,
tip that
just
oh,
want
go ahead.
just
Mhm.
like to build on the Twitter thing and social media. So I actually, when I was applying for jobs, looking for jobs to apply to in my last year of PhD program, I actually saw there was more postdoctoral job opportunities posted on Twitter than on LinkedIn. So and you can actually get into, it's easier to directly contact the person who made those job postings through Twitter than through LinkedIn. I was just saying, I didn't understand the importance of science Twitter in general, just Twitter in general, until the pandemic and people started truly using it as a way to network, to share their research, share their findings, also share job opportunities, share textbooks, PowerPoints, resources in general. That's it, Sarah. You can go ahead.
Oh, oh no, you're fine. Every tip, every response was mwah, chef's kiss. I'm sure the audience was very tuned in. I hope you guys heard everything that our panelists said. So now I would like to ask, who did you network with that impacted your data science trajectory? So you can name a couple people who most impacted you, but who did you work with?
Oh my God. That's a list.
That is a list.
Okay, Dr. Tarina Lewis, who is at the AMS. For those that don't know what the AMS is, the American Mathematical Society. Dr. Washington, Dr. Rucker, Miss Moore, Dr. Lamar, ooh, and a couple of folks that I met on Black Tech Twitter, as well as my other AUC peers. And I think I'm gonna stop. Wait, no. What was her name? What was her name? Hold on. I I feel like her name was Dr. Young. No, her name isn't Dr. Young. Dang it. There's a woman that teaches a data science course, Miss Phillips. Miss Phillips. Shout out to her too. She's amazing. Okay, I'm gonna stop there.
I'll go in a slightly different direction. I went to an information session for LexisNexis when I was in grad school, and it definitely changed my life. I'm a director at LexisNexis now. So go ahead and kick the tires on information sessions. I didn't want to go. I was going with somebody. I was in sweatpants and a t-shirt. I didn't take it seriously, but certainly the people that I met at that information session and the places that pointed me to and the resources that they pointed me to definitely got me to where I am today.
So I actually got conned into it, right? So when I was in graduate school, I thought that I was gonna be a pure
Not they
mathematician.
finessed you.
That's what happened. I thought I was gonna be a pure mathematician. I went to a pure math symposium. Yeah, I realized it wasn't for me. I also had an interesting time at UGA, and there was a professor. This was the first introduction that I had to government work. Was like, hey, listen, I can protect you from nonsense, and I can give you a research assistantship without teaching. And I don't care what math you throw at it, but I just need the biology question solved. And so that was his proposal. I didn't have to teach. So that's how I got conned into it, right? And so I got there. I realized that I had to use machine learning and data science to solve his problem. So I solved it that way. But actually, so my advisor was the first person. His name was Juan Gutierrez. And actually, the job that I have now at APL actually came from an old Morehouse professor. Her name was Shelby. Her name is Shelby Wilson. She actually still works here now at APL. So she actually was like, "Hey, you do machine learning, and APL is looking for those kind of folks. So apply to APL." And here I am. So, and I don't think I'm going anywhere for a little while. So,
When you say APL, are you Johns Hopkins?
yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep, yep. If you want to have we'll talk offline. Let me know.
I don't know. Yeah, another person talked to offline. I guess since I unmuted, let me say I don't really. I told you guys earlier, my first exposure really to what I could do with data, like in some kind of biological way, but still using math, came from Dr. Washington's class. It was a numerical analysis class that I took for fun. I don't know, kind of on recommendation of professor in my department, because I was just kind of looking for ways to look at the data I wanted to look at for my proposal and stuff like that. So he was like, "Oh, there's a lady," and I'm like, "Okay, well, let me go." Or there's a professor. So I'm like, "Let me go take her class." And when I sat in it, I thought it was a mistake because I didn't think I was going to be able to keep up. But listening to it and seeing the kind of work that she did in general really made me think, okay, I can use this. If she uses this as a mathematician, I could use this in physics to do what I want to do. So I think that was probably the biggest influence that she probably didn't even know that she had, that really kind of pushed me to say, this is something that I can use for myself.
As for me, how I got into work for Genentech eventually is because 3 years ago there was a program called the HBCU Initiative that was run by a former Morehouse College alumni, and he was working for Genentech back then. He created this initiative to actually get students to learn about biotech careers, learn about the type of research that goes on at Genentech and what the career opportunities are. And so that is how I was introduced. Through that initiative, I was introduced to Genentech. They had seminars on campus at Morehouse School of Medicine for all students in the AUC to attend. This is back in 2019. And then eventually they invited all the attendees to come to Genentech's Campus Engagement Day. Literally, this company paid, paid for full flights and hotels for all these students to come out to this company and participate in this huge networking event. And it was absolutely, I met so many, we all met a lot of people at Geneva Tech, and we getting a chance to tour the campus and learn about careers. That was that was really what the turning point for me. I wasn't really interested in biotech until I just see all the effort that this company has done for the HBCUs and that they were really coming out here to teach us about our career options. And I really loved the campus presence. And I knew from that day I went there, I knew I was going to be back at this company one day. I just knew it long term that I was going to work for Genentech. So that huge networking event is what really packed up my career to where it is now.
And do you happen to know the Morehouse alum who had sponsored?
I think his name is Saheem Wallace. He's a grad student now at one of the UC schools. I think one of the University of California schools, but you can find him on LinkedIn and ask him about it. This is one of the practice. Be bold and reach out to people on LinkedIn. They'll gladly talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't have any more questions, and we have a little bit over 2 minutes left. If you have any last questions or remarks you would like to hear from the panelists, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Dr. Washington, would you like to come on and give any remarks?
Y'all make me so proud. So AUC alum, data science in the house, Victoria and Wilmy, both CAU Panthers, otherwise known as Clarkites. There it is. And James and Zarati, Morehouse men, and Kanisha, my Spelman sister, is in the house, and Tiara, Morehouse School of Medicine. So fantastic to have you all represent from the AUC. We're super proud of what you all are doing in the world of data science and beyond, and hearing your experiences. And we hope to have you all connect with each other. And I put a link to y'all's LinkedIn for the people in the audience if they want to link up with you later. And you can also make connections in the chat. But yeah, this was really informative panel. There's a lot of chitter in the chat about what you all were talking about. So really great information. And no, I didn't pay anybody to say that numerical analysis is fun. That was
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not. That and operations research.
Okay, did I say it was fun? Because I didn't
you
mean
didn't
to say
take my
fun.
class. I heard fun. It's
I
my
didn't mean to say that.
I don't think anyone said fun. Ooh.
Didn't mean to say fun. Informative and encouraging. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that like an equivalent to?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I can find something interesting and it not be fun.
I think burpees are fun, so I'm just going to go with it.
All right.
Yeah. Well,
just, you know, I have a different unit of analysis.
You got that.
It's all good. It's all good. Fantastic to see you all doing great works. Feel free to come by the AUC. And thanks everybody for joining us today.